There are always times that we have difficulty with QuickBooks where things just don't seem to work right. Included in the program are utilities called Verify and Rebuild. These are some really powerful troubleshooting tools that you'll need to run from time to time. First, why would we rebuild our data? Let's go through some of the most common reasons. Number one, you may be getting error messages. If you see fault errors when operating QuickBooks, invalid protection, or any other different type of error, one of the first lines of defense is to run Verify and then rebuild your data. Very often this takes care of all the problems. Other instances where we'll also rebuild is when we have difficulty opening a file. Now if you can't open the file correctly, keep in mind that you'll have to go to your backup copy. This is where we have to be careful. Sometimes when we're backing up, we back up the problem day in and day out. That is why we always say, learn to restore data before you need it. It's a good troubleshooting tip is to open backup copies from time to time to make sure that that copy is running correctly. Another common arena is when invoices just won't save. You go to hit the save key, you go back to look at it, and it's just not there. This may happen with reports also. You delete a report, the report isn't there, or you've deleted a report and it does appear. This can be a real problem, especially if you have deleted memorized reports and your list keeps growing and growing and growing. Whenever you have something that seems odd, always think in terms of corruption to your data. Other instances are when you have a file that's running very, very slowly. We can clean it up, compact it, get some speed out of it. When you have accounts that aren't appearing correctly, perhaps you've added a sub-account, it doesn't appear on your list. Now remember, in this instance, you might want to try to resort it first, then go through verification. Occasionally, too, we'll just find that names are missing. I've added something to an employee list or to a vendor list and they're just not there. These are all instances where we may want to go in and rebuild our data. Now rebuilding data can take some time, so I always recommend try some of the other troubleshooting areas that we talked about in the previous movie first. They're much quicker and will get you up and operational in a much shorter period of time. Let's say they do not work though, so I do have to go in and rebuild this data. Let's go back into QuickBooks. To rebuild, I'm simply going to go to File and down to Utilities. Under Utilities, you will see Verification and Rebuild. Now if you go directly to Rebuild, it is going to verify the data. If you're not sure whether or not something is wrong though, start with the Verify data. It'll run faster, and if it comes back clean, you can go to the next level of troubleshooting. I normally will go in and rebuild from time to time. Another thing to keep in mind is you notice clean up the company data. Something to keep in mind when we work with data files is that when you go into a cleanup, it will take away a lot of blank spaces, look for corruption, and clean them up. But note what this sign is saying. Your budget data may be affected. There are certain items that could be removed. As a result, we're going to wait until we make sure that we've resorted lists, we've checked our data, we've checked our reports, we've rebuilt. If all of that looks good, then we'll go in and do a cleanup. So we're always going to try to do the easiest thing first to get back and running. Once I go in, it is a matter of just simply pressing a button to start the procedure. When I press the rebuild, it will then start. What I want you to keep in mind is this can take a long time. Depends on how big your file is. If you have quite a few transactions, please do not be worried if this runs for a couple hours. Also, very frequently I find that it needs to be run a number of times. Very often it'll go until it finds a mistake and it'll stop. Then I have to rerun it again, it'll go a little further. Occasionally you have to repeat this process a few times to clear up that data. Now there's another troubleshooting tip that I'd like to give you when you're working with this rebuild. And to do this, we're going to get into some of the main troubleshooting screens. I am going to press Control 1 on my keyboard. Again, that's Control and 1. When I hit Control 1, it takes me into the background into a product information screen. Now when I'm on this screen, I'm going to hit the number 2 with the Control key, Control 2, and it takes me to a Tech Help screen. I want you to go to the file information and see if it gives you any data on your version. Okay. If this is blank, I would then like you to go into Open File. When you go into Open File, I'd like you to go down to where it says QB Win Log. When you're on QB Win Log, I'd like you to open that file. Now please don't let this scare you off too much. One thing I'd like you to note is that when you see files, a lot of this is regular information from the computer. Anytime we see checkpoint, we don't have to worry too much. That's the computer talking to itself. However, do you note where you have things where it says message? Here you'll notice that it tells me an attempt to log off without a log on. So it tells me that somebody was trying to close out of it, but the file really didn't finish loading, so it wasn't open. What I want you to watch in this file is whether or not you see any errors and they start giving you a document number. For instance, if it would say error invoice number 123, I could have a corrupt invoice. Whenever you see an individual document listed on this screen, I'd like you to go to that document, delete it out, and re-enter it. Many times what we're seeing in this screen is the actual corruption in our data in the background. Now this log file will actually repeat every time you run rebuild, so you can see where your errors are coming in. Now I'm going to close back out again. I'm going to close out of our Tech Help, go back into QuickBooks. Armed with that data, if I now need to delete an estimate or an invoice, I will. Remember, the fastest way to get to those areas is to edit, find. Note that I could do Control F also. When you find your document, print out a copy of it. Delete it out, and then we're going to re-enter it. Now when you delete it out, as an extra precaution, I always like to close out of QuickBooks, let the file clean itself up, then reopen it, and then put in the new invoice. Sometimes, with any computer issue, closing off and coming back up again takes care of quite a few of the problems in the background.